Hello, hello, hello. Happy Friday the 13th, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. How's everyone doing? Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Jacob. Good morning, Royal Palms. It's about time, Sterling, getting in the key news. Thank you for showing up. Hope today goes fine with you at the dealership. There you go. No, I don't, Royal Palms, know how much they were lowered before earnings. JP Morgan, though, crushed earnings mainly because of their takeover earlier this year. Uh, Freaky Friday the 13th. I don't know, anything can happen. It was Friday the 13th in October. I mean, anything can happen today. And the market's back and forth. Got some selling pressure yesterday after the terrible 30-year bond auction, but then they snapped back in the afternoon. Still got some buying pressure coming in. Thank you, Sterling. JPM EPS 433 versus 312 year over year. Good morning, Tony. Oh, Wells Fargo, garbage, garbage, garbage. But all the banks did beat. UNH beat. So United Healthcare, which is again not a bank, but is a big company. So the Dow is up decently today, up 35 basis points. S&P up 32, so for 33 now. Nasdaq, I mean, we got the tech earnings really kicking in over the next couple weeks. So, what else do we have to watch for? We got Harker speaking now. I don't know if I just saw stuff scrolling by. I'm just looking at my other monitor. So I don't know if there's anything important. We're going to just wait and see. Things are going to come more in line, blah, 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 blah. So I don't think that's going to be earth-shattering. We got the preliminary consumer sentiment numbers and consumer conditions and inflation expectations. These are the preliminary October numbers coming out at 9 a.m. Central, so 54 minutes from now, and then that's about it, besides the rig counts. So that is really it today. We'll have to keep an eye just on the news scroll because we have the day of rage going. Whether that amounts to anything or not, we will see. You see down here the earnings. Strong City was also a beat. Wells Fargo. Bank of America didn't report today. It must be up in sympathy. A lot of sympathy there with there. Oil back up. A little selling pressure after the build in crude yesterday after the numbers came out, but then immediately bought back up. There's UNH up 125 basis points. So there we go. So far, is everything positive now? Let's just see. Yeah, everything is positive. Energy financials leading the charge higher today. Fed watch still. We're only at a 30% chance for even a December hike, so the market's just thinking pause. Fear and greed still in fear mode. Anybody seen heads or tails of cocoa? JP Morgan, we already went through this, so I didn't even bother looking at BlackRock. But the banks beat. So we're done with earnings this week. All right. Good morning, Anissa. JP Morgan looks like it may try to break out of a 3-month downtrend on the weekly chart. Don't forget to, I agree, Royal Palms. Don't forget to hit that like. Let's just peek at JP Morgan real quick. We'll deviate a little. I mean, it's against key resistance and the 200, and it could break out of that little downwards channel. Yep, you are correct. So we'll keep an eye on that. But, never hurts to... There, we got to do this. Come on. There we go. Little there. What would be the targets potentially on a break above there? Well, let's just see. First target for me would be 150. We're trading pre-market 148, so at least that could be a stop raise at the key minor resistance and then the 50% harmonic. And the next key target, 152.42. And then you get the close above there. We could see a continued rally. So that's how I look at that. Again, you don't have to make things overly complex. Let's see now here. I was watching to see if this was going to qualify for a double, and it just missed. So we can't trade this as a double with the breakout. So I'm just going to the reverse these pullback harmonics, and the targets area I'm utilizing is about 4,400 to 4402.50. 4411.75, so 4412, and 4421. those will be the targets I'll be keeping an eye on. The major key area that I'm watching for any breakdown is right around this 43.65. We break below. If this reverses, something happens to stay, and it reverses 43.55. We break below that. I'm using the single candle harmonics from yesterday because it's technically a positive bar on the 4-hour, but it's also a wide range outside day. It's not a key reversal day because it did not close technically above Wednesday's low, but it's an outside key reversal day. So we start breaking below that low, 43.46, 43.37 roughly. So those are all the intraday levels I'm watching. Cycles still rolling over, so even on a rally, and weekly cycles getting to the bottom. Now we are in the pretty big channeling pattern here on this pullback, so it will be interesting to see. It will be interesting to see if next week we can get the close above 44.85 if you want to remain in bullish mode. What else we got going on? I see things scrolling by. That's Sterling putting in Harker's stuff. Hey, Christoph. That means we'll get mass layoffs. He doesn't expect to see it. So, let me show you this real quick. Why might I have these double targets up on the 4-hour if this goes through to second and third? Because on the 1-hour, the second target just squeaks in, but I also have the retracement targets up. So I'm using a cluster. If we start getting above this 15,345.50, I'm looking at about 15,734 on a closing basis, at least a 1-hour closing basis, of 15,377.50 on a shorter term basis. And then the next cluster area would be 15,405.75 to 15,409.75. And then it would be to the most recent high candle ledge of resistance, which is around 15,442. That's the reason I'm looking at that still, because it's technically valid on the 1-hour. But that's also why I have the retracement from this outside reversal candle yesterday up there, because I'm looking for the clusters. Looking for the key clusters. If we rally, you can see the outside, again, not a key reversal because it did not close below the low. It traded below the low of Wednesday, but not close below it. And you see also slamming into the rotation zone. Now, on the bear side, if this gives up the candle today and we take out yesterday's low at 15,216.25, 15,184.75, 15,153. Other than that, it's a little hard to see here. Let me take off these other harmonics real quick. But on pullbacks, I will still use the harmonics from this single candle. So let's say we stall out going to the open. I would use 15,311 area for support, then 15,279, etc. They are completely valid when you have that outside key reversal candle. The Dow, again, now with the yesterday's price action, I'm going to be watching the 1-hour close 33,952, 34,019, 34,096 cluster area is very key. Pullback levels, roughly about 33,820 to 33,830, then 33,750. The Russell, did the Russell finally pull back enough pre-market for a potential double? Looks like it did. Let's just verify. Yeah, it did. Yes, it did. So, also looks, did that trigger 1752.9 on the closing basis, closing 1752.9, so closing right at that level. So aggressively, you could use it. Technically, that does not count. It's right in line, but if you were being aggressive, you could still try to go with that pattern. But if it can't hold that level, I would just bailing on it. 1759 and a half, 1762.7, 1766 to the downside. Pullback support would roughly be about 1749 to 1750, and then would be 1741. So those are the Russells. Now, what does that mean? That would just be another bounce into the daily rotation zone. And if it rolled over again, it might not invalidate this bigger potential double bottom, which I doubt will trigger, but got to keep an eye on it. VIX slightly elevated, but again, the key support 16, dips below, close above, key resistance is 18. Nothing much. We'll keep an eye on that DAX. Nothing really new here. Nothing really new. Not a fantastic. Now we could see a little mini inverse potential head and shoulders that we'll have to check out if we get a rotation back up next week. Notes: we had the strong reversal yesterday and then moving back on up today. So coming back down to the 50 to 62.5 and rotating back up. So going to see today where we close in relation to the rotation zone. If we would close in relation to the rotation zone above there, I'll continually watch for a potential bigger rally in the notes, which would be a bigger pullback in the yields. Especially I'm going to be watching 455.5, 456 area on a closing basis on the yields. The 10-2s still holding the rotation zone. Dollar index, big rally yesterday, but no close above the 62.5, and I mentioned that's the key level I was watching for follow-through. Stalling out at this morning above there. I'm still watching to see if it closes above 106.28. Otherwise, I'm watching for another pullback play. Crude. We still have the potential double that we have to adjust a little lower because it made, after the live stream yesterday, it made a lower low, but still the right side. Still needs a close above 87.24. 89.70, 90 roughly, 92.17. So I'll be keeping to see if that triggers. But cycles are at the top, so we'll have to keep an eye, but it is still valid. We got to wait for a trigger on that one. Natty Gas still trying to pull back. Nothing different there. Big rally so far in gold. Took out a single bar pausing candle. I am not looking to chase gold at this point. Still watching for a pullback play to establish. And if you listen to that other podcast I was on, I'm watching for a multi-month bottom. Multi-week / multi-month. So that's why, I'm watching for the pullback to see how long it, what kind of pullback it is and see what potential kind of impulse it could be. So also, gold, precious metals, I like to trade around a core position anyways. But that's what I'm watching for if you are a gold bug. So finally, gold and oil moving up in unison. That's where we sit there. By the way, the big five we haven't looked at closed above the 62.5, so we could still see some continued. And the potential double that was in the big five is now in triple territory. So no double there anymore. They confirmed, but never triggered. What else do we have? The U.S. dollar, Japanese yen. Nothing much here. Is this potential spike? That lowers the probability of it dramatically, but we'll watch in case we get some yen intervention. We'll watch that key low. Euro, U.S. dollar. No close yet below the 62.5. No potential double yet, so keeping the eye on that. Inverse of the dollar. Pound, same situation. This could be the key support zone, though, if it rotates back up. And what else do we see? What the heck? What's the link again? Does somebody have the link to that video? Does somebody have it handy? I can't do the search for that right now. Do a search on YouTube for Tradier, Tradier. It was episode 11. Episode 11. If somebody has the link for that. So, we got the little pullback. No trigger on the 4-hour. Did trigger on the 1 hour. And I'd still use this if you were shorting or waiting for the pullback. Still use this. The key stop level. The key, I lowered a stop because it came within a couple cents of hitting the first target. So the key top level on the closing basis would be 435.05. Looks like it's going to open above there. So that would now be invalidated and the remaining targets would be stopped out. But that was the pullback. I'm going to assume that's going to open there. The pullback in terms of the bigger, that's all it could manage, in terms of the bigger double bottom. So you're still your targets back to 436.63, then 439, then 441. And that was a pretty strong bottoming candle into the rotation zone on the 4-hour basis, dipping to the prior trigger point for the double on the daily basis. So we still have the double in play, the double bottom. On the Qs, which did not have a double top, the Qs finished the double pattern yesterday before the pullback sell-off. Did have a down close, again, still above the 62.5 after the up close on Wednesday. So still watching. We hit the 75 level, which was key for me. You take out that 373.46, then 377.15 is the next target area, which is very strong resistance. What else do we have? Tesla. Oh, Sterling, were you not in here? I did did the Tradier podcast with Bob and Jim, and we recorded it live Tuesday afternoon. It was posted live, and I talk about defense stocks and a bunch of other stuff. If anybody can look up that link, it would be really appreciated. Tesla, still nothing. I'm just waiting essentially for earnings. This is unless it breaks. I'm not expecting much. You got this horrible triangle pattern, which you know how I feel about that. Nvidia, interesting, closed above the 62.5. Remember on Wednesday, little upside push yesterday, still closing above it yesterday, still 479.45 is the next target area. So, why am I on APL? There we go. Apple, no close yet above the 62.5, but if we could close above the 181.60 area today, then 184.39, then 187.19. Just checking in on a couple other things. Meta, by the way, we didn't look at it for a couple days, but that eventually finished the double. I forgot to look at it. But just for all the people playing along with that double at home, from educational perspectives, the Meta took a while. Took a very long time. That's why timings sucks sometimes on these, but you got to still go with the probability. And that finished out. If you're looking for the next key target, should Meta keep rallying? The next key targets, this is where we use the reverse harmonics. And it's roughly about, it would be a stop rate around 332.68, 339.16. Okay? That's a perfect example of when those next reverse harmonics come into play. Why? Because, I mean, this is into an advanced clear path move, and the technical end of the advanced clear path move is right around there. And look at the way it lines up with the harmonics. So that would be a very key major next target. Also, I'm just wondering. And right above that, remember, it closed above the 62.5, pulling back to it. The next target would be 347.30 if this thing keeps going. Happy Friday, Connor. Yeah, Tradier. There you go, Richard. Did you find the video? So, thinking, is there anything else? Let's just take a look at some of these mega caps. Microsoft, no, that's not a double. Not a double. But getting back above this 338.40 level could be interesting to retest some high areas, although needs that close above 345.50. We already went over JP Morgan at the beginning. Wells Fargo. Citigroup, sorry. What did I say? I was thinking Wells and I typed in C From a weekly perspective, see, I'll be watching still. Clinton closed at 87.5. I'll be watching for another bounce play, a rollover play at some point for Citigroup. Not specific for JP Morgan first, for Citigroup and Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo, I'll also be looking for another longer-term rollover play, although Wells Fargo, interesting enough, has not been able to close below the 62.5. If eventually that happens, though, which I'm expecting to possibly in the first quarter next year, unless we get some major market carnage before that, I'm watching for that level to break. So far, it's held twice in the 50 to 62.5 rotation zone on the weekly basis and no rollover yet. All right. Nice potential to let me look at uranium. After completing the double top pattern, beautiful double top pattern to possibly lighten up, we now have the double bottom pattern, correctamundo. So let's see where the conservative targets take us to the most recent highs. Beautiful. Needed a close of 26.48, 27.28, 27.68, 28.13. And what does that look like on the bigger perspective? Pull back to the weekly rotation zone. Cycles still aren't there, so I'd be patient on this triggering. Cycles could still bottom, possibly invalidate that double. But we'll be watching longer term for the rotation back up. Again, the key support is still 24. Thank you. I did not remember that one, Sterling. All right. With that, everyone, have a wonderful Friday trading day. Have a fantastic weekend. Have a happy Friday the 13th in October, and I will see everyone next week. Bye for now.